I'm just going to read this to you. Multiple Texas farms shut down after almost 100% of workforce vanishes overnight. In a stunningly swift overnight change, some Texas farm operations had to shut down after losing virtually all of their workforce, an exodus triggered by the increase in immigration raids and increased enforcement. The ripple effects of these raids are the gift that keeps on giving and will be felt nationwide. Unpicked crops are now left unharvested. Livestock were left untended, and rural economies are on edge. The story isn't just a tale of woe for Texas farms, it's a warning for American agribusiness.
The lady's right here. There seems to be a serious phenomenon going on across this country on these farms due to Donald Trump's dumb tariff war and these deportation raids of farms across this country. Let's have a look at what some are saying about this phenomenon of farmers losing their farms across the United States.
It's Joe from Georgia. So this is news out of Texas. But folks, these are alarm bells ringing for the entire United States. And our government is not listening. Overnight, multiple farms in the state of Texas completely shut down. And the reason for this shutdown was because they have lost almost 100% of their workforce. Now, we know this is the result of the immigration raids and stricter enforcement, but the ripple effect is going to be felt all the way across this country. Now, you've got crops that are rotting in the fields. You have livestock that is not being attended to at all. And that takes a lot of personnel. And we're talking, so now we're getting every area of food to include meat. And the communities that surround these farms, those businesses and those people who depend on the income from these farms, it's creating disasters for small communities in Texas. Now, this is not stopping at Texas farms. This is going to end up all the way across America, especially in the breadbasket, the middle of the nation, because they have tons of immigrant help. But folks, the alarm bells are ringing. Your food on your plate is being affected. So you got to think about it. It won't be soon until either prices go ridiculously high or you just won't have any food to buy.
There are no words that are sufficient to express how much I love watching these farmers right here reap what they have sown. May their fields lay barren and their familial land, their ancestral land, may it be bought for pennies on the dollar, because they got what they voted for. On the flip side, I just want to send some love and encouragement to the immigrants that are fearful and worried about what tomorrow looks like, because I get it. We're living in a shit show, y'all. Please do your best to take care of you, to stay safe and surrounded by your loved ones. This is yet another shameful chapter of United States history, but this time around, the world is watching and judging us. This cannot be erased. This cannot be whitewashed. I'm sorry that they've used your communities to stoke so much rage and hatred and anger and violence. You deserve so much better.
People from all walks of life speaking out about these raids and these tariffs that are damaging these farmers and their livelihoods. But most of them voted for this. They just thought it wasn't going to affect them. They thought maybe they were going to have some other people coming in to work their farms for them. Well, that doesn't seem to be the case right now. Let's hear some other stories about what's going on with the farms across this country, starting here in Texas.
Down on illegal immigration is starting to affect the Texas agriculture industry. Some farmers say their workers are too scared to show up for work. Fox 4's Casey Stegall spoke with the Texas Agriculture Commissioner about the recent immigration raids. Casey.
Hey, Steve, good to see you. The state Republican Agriculture Commissioner tells me that the stepped up immigration enforcement is taking a toll on the industry, not just here in Texas, but beyond, while federal immigration authorities say they're only doing their jobs. Just 40 miles or so south of the Dallas hustle and bustle.
Row crops, hay production.
Sits Lee Calvert's 2,000-acre Ellis County family farm.
My father helps me, obviously. My little sister helps. My wife, huge help. I've got 3 sons, and they're coming along and doing what they can.
Calvert knows he's lucky not having to rely on farmhands to check the chores off, because those who do say absenteeism among hired migrant help has disrupted their entire operations.
They hear that ICE is coming, or they see somebody from INS roll up. Well, they just don't show up. They're scared to come to work.
Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller tells Fox 4 dairy farmers have been hit the hardest.
But on a dairy, those cows, they never stay milked. You milk them 3 times in a 24-hour period. So if the crew doesn't show up, these dairymen go into panic mode.
Are you a U.S. citizen? Do you have documents to be here?
Recent video posted to immigration rights groups' social media channels shows federal agents conducting raids on California farms. President Trump in the last week briefly paused this type of enforcement within a handful of economic sectors which rely heavily on migrant labor, like agriculture. Then it was back to business.
We're enforcing everywhere. In other words, the president has said if you are an illegal immigrant into this country, you ought to voluntarily go back and come through the proper channels.
Folks like Lee Calvert agree there's no place in America for migrants with violent criminal backgrounds, but wishes there was more gray area.
And I think there needs to be a distinction made and a pathway for the people that do want to come here, obey our laws, integrate into our societies, work in our factories, fields, wherever.
So the U.S. Department of Agriculture estimates that more than 40% of the nation's farm workers are undocumented.
Maybe some farmers have forgotten this, but plenty of us voted to keep your farms going, voted to keep your workers here, voted to put them on the path to citizenship. But you farmers and a lot of people on the right voted to get those same people out of this country. Now you're the one suffering because you voted against your best interests. So let's see what else that we have coming out of the mouths of the United States citizens, what they're experiencing and what they wish would really be happening in this country is these deportations are unfair. They're not going after criminals. They're going after ordinary, everyday, hard-working people. That was not what was told to us by the likes of Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, and Donald Trump. Now these farmers are suffering, and by default, the rest of the country will suffer because our shelves will eventually become empty due to no labor to get this work done. Let's have a look.
This video is for MAGA and for MAGA only. If you're not MAGA, then keep scrolling. Y'all were so pressed that immigrants were taking your jobs and yada yada yada. Well, let's see. Now in Texas, a lot of farms are hurting because they don't have employees. So why aren't you applying to those jobs? The jobs that the immigrants were taking from you. Quickly. Yeah, and that's what I thought. I want to hear your excuses or your comebacks. Because there is no line forming outside of these farms where y'all were so desperate to get a job.
All right, MAGA, get out there. Where are you at? You got your jobs back. You got your jobs that were taken from you. Get out there. Get out there and start working. Get to work. America first. Get out there. 100% haven't shown up to work due to immigration raids, Texas farmer says. America's migrant workers are terrified to work, but unable to stay home. So get out there, MAGA. You got these jobs back. You took them back. You voted. You got your guy in there to get rid of all of those migrant workers. So get out there. Get out there and start working. But for real, I want to shout out to the undocumented migrant workers as they were deemed essential in 2020. They stepped up when this nation needed them most. They have my utmost respect. They should see a pathway to citizenship. Period. Period. They were deemed essential workers, risking their lives in one of the most hazardous jobs in the entire U.S. labor market. They have my full respect. Thank you for your service and your contribution to this country.
Well, thanks to the big orange gremlin looking motherfucker, multiple farms in Texas just shut down overnight. Why? Because ICE raids made nearly 100% of the workforce completely vanish. People ran, got detained, or flat out got scared to death and never came back. Dairy farms are in panic mode right now. Cows gotta be milked every 8 hours. And guess what? Nobody's showing up to milk these fuckers, folks. This isn't some Texas problem either. This is happening across the entire nation. ICE isn't just out here enforcing some bullshit laws. They are actively crippling our food systems with fear and chaos. You want to talk about consequences? This ain't just about politics anymore, y'all. It's about what's on your table, what's in your fridge, or what's about to be missing from your fucking store. These Nimrods aren't saving America. They're starving it.
Texas is continuing the F around and find out stage. Guess what just hit 0 before Donald Trump's approval rating? Right there. Farm labor attendance, 0. Entire fields, whole crews are ghosting fields, leaving fruits and vegetables to rot because the Donald Trump administration is too busy playing cat and mouse with people who just want to feed America. To the MAGA people who are saying that immigrants are taking your job, this right here is your opportunity. Pick yourselves up by the bootstraps, get those buckets, and pick those strawberries. No more hiding behind those welfare checks that are padded behind blue state dollars. You wanted the raids, you got them. Now get in those fields and pick those fruits and vegetables before you watch the produce aisle turn to a luxury boutique section. Chop chop, MAGA. And that's it.
So as a Nebraskan, the farmers predominantly voted for the current president. They also voted for Pete Ricketts and Deb Fischer, who aren't doing anything for them. And China announced that they're not going to buy corn and soybeans today, or I think they've done it over the last couple days. I think it was last week, because of the trade war their current president that they voted for decided to wage, a trade war with China. They're not going to buy your goods. And I know that a lot of you have said that you want aid. Well, as a taxpayer who lives in Nebraska who did vote for the right candidate, I don't think I want my tax dollars going to bail you out. I think you actually should sit in your decisions and feel the effects. You want us to. Every time we vote for a Democrat and you say they're horrible. So at this point in time, I'm going to tell you the same thing you say to me back. You wanted to vote for this. Now you get to deal with the consequences. And I don't think I should have to bail you out. Because I work hard for my money too. And my dollars shouldn't bail out your bad decisions. So yeah, today I'm telling you, the farmers here in Nebraska, you need to deal with your own decisions. It's your consequences, not mine. And I don't want to pay for them.
No, this is so sad. There are a bunch of white Texas farmers who are losing their farms right now. Because guess what? 100% of their workforce vanished. Wow. So all those people, who got eyes called on them, they were working on the farms. So now that they're gone, they cannot sustain the farms. You know what's crazy about this video? Because I talked about this like 2 months ago when Trump brought over all these South Afrikaners, farm people, where we find out that they were not really even farmers. And I was talking about this and found out that a few of our dear white farmers here had started losing their farms because of promises that were made to them and was not kept by this administration. So now it's trickling down to some other farmers because now their workforce, they're gone. And I was seeing somewhere where somebody came over, and it was a Caucasian man. He came over from Twitter, and he was like, y'all, a lot of these farmers, white farmers, they thought that black people were going to come and work for their farms. There's a lot going on in this country right now. You know, us heading into possibly World War II. But this is a conversation just to kind of talk about right now. That people are kind of seeing I guess, what's the word? I can't even find the word, but the decisions that they made, they are coming back to hunt them. Let's just say that. So sorry to hear this, but yeah. So I do hope that some of these Native Americans that did lose their lands, that they do get back some of these farms that are being lost.
We're here. We are here at the FAFO stage. This is really bad. And if you appreciate my content, please engage with this video. I'm just going to read this to you. Multiple Texas farms shut down after almost 100% of workforce vanishes overnight. In a stunningly swift overnight change, some Texas farm operations had to shut down after losing virtually all of their workforce, an exodus triggered by the increase in immigration raids and increased enforcement. The ripple effects of these raids are the gift that keeps on giving and will be felt nationwide. Unpicked crops are now left unharvested. Livestock were left untended, and rural economies are on edge. The story isn't just a tale of woe for Texas farms. It's a warning for American agribusiness, food prices, and communities that keep food on our plates. I need you to share this with every Republican you know. And you don't even need to wait for their response. They just need to know what's happening. And this is part of my line of work. I deal with commercial farmers, including these small farmers, as clients. And I cannot tell you how this is the beginning of the complete collapse of our economy under this Project 2025 administration that doesn't know what they're doing. You talk about the immediate shuttering of farms, because this is actually what's happening with the food, with the harvests that are lying there completely rotting. That is a loss of food to local food distributors, local grocery stores, local restaurants, hospitals. They sell their harvests, all sorts of vegetables, to businesses within the state of Texas. This is where you can go into your local grocery store, and now you're going to see hardly any vegetables or fruit, depending on what they're growing, or a shortage of meat. This is what's going to happen. Now, all of the other industries that support farming, you've got local pesticide, herbicide, fertilizer suppliers that are just, their sales are going to plummet. These farmers aren't going to be purchasing that. You've got H-2A workers who are now gone, migrant workers who are now gone. They were paying taxes. Even if they didn't have social security numbers, they were given tax numbers, tax ID numbers. So now you got millions of dollars just poof, gone overnight from these Texas communities. You've got trucking companies that are hired to haul the produce from the farms to the packaging plants. You've got packaging plants who wash the vegetables, grade the vegetables, pack the vegetables, whose sales are going to plummet. Now you're going to have other industries who don't employ either migrant workers or H-2A workers who are going to have layoffs. This is all under Republican leadership, not just from the White House, but from the Republicans that were elected in the state of Texas. And if you think this is going to stop at Texas, you've got another thing coming. And you want to know which farms are going to be impacted further down the road? They're going to be safe for now. There's a small percentage of farmers who are actually Democrats, and they understand how important it is to protect their employees, take care of their employees. Those employees who feel safe will keep showing up for work because they know the owners have their backs, which says something about these other farms where the employees are like, I'm too scared to show up. Let me add this final thing. This is going to impact farmers. They're at risk of going out of business. Who's going to jump in? The federal government to compensate them with our tax dollars. So now our tax dollars is going to be used to cover the bullshit leadership of this administration on top of the overwhelming increasing tax dollars being used by this administration to scare, to deport, to imprison people with brown skin. Like, our tax dollars are not helping everyday Americans at all. And this is just the beginning under Republican leadership. Share this video.
Well, there you have it on the F around and find out phases of what these farmers voted for. Let me know down in the comments, do you think it's fair what's happening to them losing their farms? Or is it unfair? No matter what, Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, and Donald Trump are the blame. Maybe these farmers thought they were going to get what Donald Trump gave them in the first term when he started his tariff war with China and wound up giving the farmers a $30 billion bailout so they could care less about their vote. Doesn't look like that's going to happen this time. This country is in debt. The deficit is too high. Too many people are paying attention to spending right now. So you're not going to get that bailout, farmers, that you thought you were going to get. So you should have been more responsible with your vote. We'll leave it here. Talk about this another time. Thanks for watching. I ask you guys to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you.